Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger wearing a real nice shirt. You should probably find a way to buy that. I'm Grant Cohn wearing my own merch that you can't buy, but you can buy my merch at 49ersqcmerch.com. Promo code CH1, 10% off. Not shameless plug. Anyway, Niners just traded Jeff Wilson Jr. Donald just became a member, which is equally important news. So thank you, Donald. But no, Jeff Wilson Jr. just got traded to the Miami Dolphins for a 5th-round pick. I'd love to hear your take on it, Larry.
Well, it's interesting on a lot of fronts. One, I think it's because, so which move do you prefer? Would you rather see Jeff Wilson traded for a 5th or Jordan Mason cut in a week? Because that's kind of what it was going to be. It was going to be somebody was going to get cut. It was probably going to be Mason. Niner fans were going to bitch and moan if he was cut after 1 carry for 7 yards. So to take a player like Wilson, who's an undrafted free agent, who's not your number 1 running back, who's not your number 2 running back, heck, he might not even be your number 3 running back, and to get a 5th-round pick, which is kind of the sweet spot if history tells you anything on Lynch and Peters in these drafts, I'm fine with it. I'm a little it's a little weird to trade off of a surplus that is kind of could be gone at any second. Like, what happens if McCaffrey, knock on wood, gets hurt, and Elijah Mitchell, knock on wood, gets hurt again, and now suddenly you're looking at TDP and Jordan Mason, and you're trying to win playoff games. I don't know about that. There'll be enough time to second guess it then. But overall, I like it because I didn't want to cut Jordan Mason for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I would have rather they trade Ty Davis Price. I mean, if he was a 3rd-round pick a few months ago, is he worth anything in a trade, or has he lost all value in 6 months? That's who I'd rather trade. But given the fact that the Niners, Kyle Shanahan never really respected Jeff Wilson Jr., and he was going to get buried on the bench and just be used as in case someone gets hurt, just as well. I mean, I don't like it because I feel like he's underrated and an asset to the team. I mean, he's better than depth, but Kyle disagrees. Kyle's never really saw him as an asset. He's been trying to replace him for years. I mean, Trey Sermon, Ty Davis Price, and now Christian McCaffrey. I feel good for Jeff Wilson Jr. Now he gets to go to a coach who wants him, a scheme he knows, and a team that's 5-3. It's a great move for him. I feel good for him.
Yeah, I mean, for him, he probably, nobody. This didn't bubble to the surface yet, but I would imagine he probably asked for it. Yeah, he probably asked for it. I mean, I don't think they just said, let's say, let's just see, let's get rid of Jeff. I think he probably was like, hey, man, you want to go with McCaffrey? You got Mitchell coming back, no problem. Give me my release. And they said, well, wait a second, you might actually have a little bit more value than that. And considering all the picks they've moved, getting another one back is not the worst thing. And since he's a free agent at the end of the year, if you love him so much, you can always bid on him again. So and also if you look at the free agent market for running backs, there's about 15 good running backs in this upcoming free agent market. So if you don't like the running backs in the draft, if you don't like going forward with McCaffrey and Mitchell, there's a lot of backs. Let's just say that. So I don't view it as that crucial of a move either way, but I was a little surprised because it is depth and they are in season.
You mentioned it's a contract year for him. Yeah, and in that sense, it's kind of not fair to bury him. He's averaging 5.1 yards per carry. He's playing well. He's doing everything he needs to do to get that contract, and now you bury him. I mean, that's not fair to him, and it's creating a malcontent in your locker room that you don't need. So in that sense, I understand moving him. Still, you better keep the whole logic is that Elijah Mitchell's coming back and he's going to fall to 3. Well, Elijah Mitchell's been healthy for 3 weeks this year. So you better be able to you better trust in your training staff's evaluation and your ability to keep those 2 running backs, McCaffrey and Mitchell, healthy. Because if one of them goes down, you're really going to miss Jeff Wilson Jr. And frankly, the Niners haven't been able to keep any of their running backs healthy for an extended period of time. So I'm curious to see why they're so confident. But maybe they know something.
Well, I think what they know is that their evaluations are, and this is just my guess because this is just my evaluation, TDP's better than Jeff Wilson. Jordan Mason is better than Jeff Wilson. I realize that's a projection for a lot of people, but based on what I've seen, and I watch college film and I watch preseason tape, I think those guys are better. I think they have more upside. I think they're faster. I think this guy's got 9 career fumbles. It's a lot of fumbles for a back who's kind of a one cut and go guy. And he's not your 1. He's not your 2. He's never demonstrated that he's Mitchell in my mind. Mitchell seems like he's got way better ability to hold on to the ball, so that makes him more dependable. And I think he's faster, and I think he's got more versatility. And then I think Jordan Mason is a hell of a back. So
I like Mason. I need to see something more from Ty Davis Price. He's averaging 2.3 yards per carry on a team where everyone averages 5 yards per carry. I need to see more from Ty Davis Price, but he does have upside. He is fast. He runs hard.
Well, and how many carries does he have on the year, Grant?
16. So it's a little early. Small
16. Yeah. I would have thought maybe it was even less than that. So they just I like Ty Davis Price. I saw him rumble. Maybe it's because I saw LSU Florida live and he rumbled in that game for huge yards. But yeah, I'm a fan.
I don't understand the Jeff Wilson trade is considered bad. They got a 5th round for an undrafted running back with an expiring deal, and we have a running back depth still. Okay. Larry agrees. Yeah,
I agree.
It just feels like the Niners go from having too many running backs to no running backs in the span of 2 weeks. It happens all the time.
I know.
But we'll see. Has there been an update on Lance's recovery? They haven't really been talking about him. Haven't seen him around. It's a little strange, like the invisible man. Like for example, you see Emmanuel Mosley. You see Emmanuel Mosley in the press box at home games, right?
Yeah.
You see these guys. I haven't seen Lance.
I haven't either, but Kyle makes it seem like he can't stand to be away from the team for even a minute. So who knows? Maybe he's hanging out. Yeah, I saw a picture of him getting out of a car wearing a big cast, but he's next year at this point, right? So
you know what I'm talking about. At those home games, they give a box to all the injured players who are on IR, and you see them coming out and they eat lunch with you. At halftime, they're out there getting chicken tenders and nachos, and you see Emmanuel Mosley and his big thing. And how you doing, Emmanuel? Good to see you. Elijah Mitchell when he's on IR. Haven't seen Trey. Don't know what's up with that. So, but again, I didn't see Jimmy when he was on IR back in the day either. Maybe some guys, they don't want mingling with the press when they're hurt.
they want to hide certain guys out maybe a little bit more.
Maybe. Callie Tremor says, I like Larry's take. Great perspective. No, I hate Larry's take. That's why he's on the channel. Josh Wyatt says, how are the same guys who said F them picks celebrating our best goal line back for a late round pick? Hey, thank you for pointing out the inherent contradiction in that stance. F them picks, but we needed a 5th round pick. Hey, if this means Jordan Mason gets a shot and he's great, I'm happy. But we'll have to see about that. Good call, Josh.
F them picks. Who's saying that? Who said F them picks?
Certain fans.
Come on, man. The draft is the lifeblood of the sport. You can never say F them picks. Now, you can prefer players to picks, and I get that. But this idea that, like, picks are just like, no. Picks have value.
It is just, to me, it's strange that the Niners' final move at the trade deadline was to sell something when they're all in. To me, I mean, you could have actually added another piece. And it's having your final move be a sell move feels like a hedge. Like, yeah, we're all in for this year, but can't forget the future either. It's like, yeah, I guess.
No, to me, it seems like they're just burying a headline that they don't like, which is that somebody wants out of, Shanahan's kingdom.
Niners cut Ty Davis Price after 7 games, and that's
that would be the good question for Shanny, wouldn't it be? I mean, you seem like the guy to maybe ask it. Did Jeff? It's a real easy one. Did Jeff ask for a trade?
Oh, fair enough. John Lynch just did a press conference. I missed it. I was doing a show with my dad. I'm guessing that was asked and he addressed it. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Josh White, I hear you. A lot of people said it. So yeah, we were talking about the meta conversation here, and yeah, some people are a little inconsistent. Good win over a bad team. I still say trade Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, I just feel like we haven't learned anything. They got blown out by the one great team they faced. Okay, a lot of teams are going to get blown out by the Chiefs. Their best win is over the Seahawks, who are kind of different than. We still haven't learned very much about the Niners. We will.
Well, I'll say one thing. I think we haven't learned a lot about the Niner defense because this Ram offense is a totally one-dimensional offense. They had no rushing attack to save their life.
None. No blocking.
They their offensive line's a joke. They're a one-receiver team, and they targeted that receiver 12 times. He made 8 catches, and a touchdown. So, I don't know if the Niner defense is legit. We saw they get their doors blown off by Kansas City, and yeah, they beat the Rams. But as I just said, the Rams offensively are having problems. So I don't know how good the defense is with all the injuries they've had. It's hard to evaluate that.
The one good offense they faced, they got smashed by.
Smashed.
One of the worst defensive performances in a long time across the league. So we don't know. You're right. Tommy Harper says Trey Lance for Hill, Waddle, and now Bradley Chubb. Is that what it's come down to?
Yes. Yeah. They traded all those picks and they got Hill, Waddle, and Chubb.
I'd love to know if McDaniel was privately in the organization being like, hey, don't do this trade. And once they did it, he was like, I'm going to Miami. Jason says, is Trent Williams nearing the washed up status?
Could be. Could be.
He's been hurt a lot. He's been hurt pretty much since week 18 last year. I don't know.
I mean, I think he's still very much a force in the run game. In the pass game against really fast edge rushers, I wonder how he'll stand up on the faster surfaces with the money on the line come playoff time. We'll see.
We'll have to see. And if he's, if it feels like this high ankle sprain has been lingering for months, so hopefully it can go away. Any update on Kinlaw? Strangely, no. Haven't heard anything about him.
No, and I'll tell you, Dennis Brown was saying it a few weeks ago that he could be done for the year. So, I mean, if
it
that's
seems
the
to me
case,
they did
that's
something drastic. It didn't have the intended effects. Maybe they're going to need to go back to the drawing board and think of something else.
Well, at this point, it's just a bad move, right?
I have something really cynical to say. Something really cynical to say. He's going to go to another team and end up being healthy. I don't know why. And I'm not saying it's like Kyle's fault or the training staff's fault, but isn't that what happens? Look at Mostert now. Fine. It's so weird. So I don't know. Don't write off Kinlaw. It just feels like a player like that shouldn't come to a team like this for whatever reason.
I just hope the Niners have learned their lesson that when it comes time to go for defensive linemen in the drafts ahead, because the ones behind you can't do anything about. In the drafts ahead, do not draft any defensive linemen that can't rush the passer, because the days of Ted Washington are over. The days of Jerry Ball, Michael Carter are over. Yeah. What I'm saying is you have to have some ability to get after the passer, even if it's DJ Jones' ability where it's like you're just a little quicker than people think. You have to have pass rush ability to play D-line in a league that has Kyler and especially, Russell and Mariota and a bunch of other guys that can move. You got to be able to.
Teams don't even care about running the ball anymore. The Rams don't care about running the ball anymore. And the Niners D-line against the Rams in this last game a lot of times was Nick Bosa, Charles Omenihu, Drake Jackson, and Samson Ebukam. It was like
the NASCAR 4DN. Yeah.
Yeah, on first down. Like, you guys aren't going to run the ball. Who cares?
They did it to Mahomes too.
That's right. Yeah. Do you think they can bring in OBJ for 1 to 2 years? They can. Do they need to? I mean, he's kind of washed. He's about 30. He's had a bunch of injuries. And, I mean, the Niners got 2 good tight ends, 2 good running backs, a fullback, 2 good wide receivers. I mean, and they run the ball more than they pass it. I don't think they need another guy. I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, first of all, you got McCaffrey, where's McCaffrey going to play when Elijah Mitchell comes back? Isn't Elijah Mitchell your starting back? Aren't you going to flex out McCaffrey? Isn't he going to play, the slot in the slot? Isn't he going to be the slot receiver? I'd rather see them get Danny Gray up to speed than pursue OBJ. OBJ can't run anymore. He's a diva. He's going to want a certain number of balls coming his way. It's a run first type team. No, they already are going to have a hard enough time splitting up the touches. I would say no to OBJ.
Flave says, hey guys, just got on a flight. Internet might be spotty. If I get disconnected, just go on without me. You guys got this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Flav.
Flave's having a great day now that we changed his name from Flav to Flave. Flave is just, yeah, it's Flav, but it's Flave now. It just resonates with the people more. Okay, I got a question for you. Is Christian McCaffrey the number 1 weapon on the Niners offense right now?
No doubt. No doubt. Why? Because he can. He's got, power to break tackles. He can be used as a running back. He can be used in the slot. You can flex him out outside. Yeah, he's versatile. He's a run after the catch weapon. He's got better hands, I think, than Deebo. I think he's more reliable than Ayuk. He's more explosive than Kittle. Yeah, McCaffrey.
All right, in the most respectful way possible, I disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
But I guess that makes for better TV.
Make your argument.
I think he's number 2. I think he's number 2. I put him above Deebo and Kittle right now. Deebo is not what he used to be. And maybe he'll get back there. But he missed the whole offseason. He's hurt. He's dropping passes. He's not getting down the field. He's a glorified check down option right now. He's still good after the catch. Yes, he is. But he's hurt. And Kittle, great, really good player, not what he used to be. I'm saying Ayuk's the number 1 weapon on this team right now. And it's hard. I still feel like he's a little underappreciated because they don't have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. As, admirable of a job as Jimmy Garoppolo is doing, he can't really take full advantage of what Brandon Ayuk has to offer. But still, when he's targeting Brandon Ayuk this season, or when the Niners are, like a 120 quarterback rating, he's got like 2 drops. He's doing great after the catch. He has no weaknesses to his game. And unlike McCaffrey, Ayuk can get down the field. So
Ayuk's an awesome player. I don't think there's any question. He's got great ball skills. He's got strong hands. He's courageous across the middle. He's a terrific player. But if I can remember when the team wasted a timeout because you were lined up on the wrong side of the formation, you ain't my number 1 weapon. And I can remember that. That happened like 3 weeks ago.
That's nitpicky. That's not.
But it's happened before. And it's like,
Christian McCaffrey fumbled last week.
That's true. It's true.
If we're going to go there. No, these guys are both really good. I'm not trying to tear one down.
Actually, fumbled twice.
He did twice. These guys are both really good. Really good.
I love Ayuk, but there's something about Ayuk that's not dependable. And I'm not sure what it is. I got to see some consistency. Give me 5 or 6 games.
I think he doesn't drop the ball. Now he's got
great hands. He's tough.
To your point, he does make some mental mistakes, and Kurt Warner questioned his route running, but he's a young guy who's improving pretty consistently, in my opinion. I think they're a nice combination, Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey. It's a nice one, too. Well, here's what I want to say. So Christian McCaffrey just had a phenomenal game from start to finish in L.A. Ayuk started off slow. Not that they just didn't get him involved really in the first half. The offense really took off in the second half once they got Ayuk involved on that second drive. 11 yards, red zone, touchdown on McCaffrey. So I think they complement each other quite well.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, and Ayuk is. I was thinking about this when I saw the rumors for Jerry Jeudy. Like, I was thinking, well, would I flip Ayuk for Jerry Jeudy? And I don't think I would.
I wouldn't.
So and I'm looking at that draft. I kind of like what I'm seeing as far as Ayuk going forward. But there's just until he's really, really dependable week after week after week. I got to see it. I'm still a little skeptical.
I compare him to Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was really good in Minnesota, but there was only so much he could prove with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. And he goes to Buffalo with Josh Allen, and all of a sudden he's an all-pro up there with the top receivers in the league statistically. I think Ayuk could do that too. If you swapped him out in Buffalo for Stephon Diggs and put Ayuk in his place, I think he'd be having like 1,400 yards a season. But I don't know. It's a projection. It's the way I look at him.
Here's the thing that I would say is I love Ayuk's skill set, the strength, the run after the catch ability, the long arms, the durability. I mean, the fearlessness, the courageousness, but like the kind of play that Jimmy and McCaffrey hooked up on this week, where it was like literally just no dialogue. Just I'm looking at the spacing and I'm looking at you and I'm looking at the defender and I'm making a play. I don't know if he's got the improvisational ability of a McCaffrey at this point. So I'll lean with McCaffrey.
That's a good point. Good debate. They should have kept Buckner. Yeah. Because the thing about Buckner, he was the leader of the team. If you were in that locker room, he was the leader of the team. He preceded Jimmy and Juszczyk and Kittle. He was from the previous regime, and he experienced the most losing, and he was the most unaffected by it. He had treated his job like he was a freaking senator. It was the Niners didn't value it.
Well, okay, let's talk about this for a second. There are things that you can do as a player that send messages. If you're a baseball player, for example, and you're headed towards free agency, and you have Scott Boras as your agent, that sends a message to baseball front offices. And the same way Scott Boras sends a loud message to baseball front offices, Joel Siegel sends a loud message to NFL front offices, and that's Buckner's agent, and that was Khalil Mack's agent. And Mack had just done this whole song and dance and demanded top dollar, and Lynch wanted to avoid it. And he had a guy that he really liked in Armstead, and he said, you know what, Eric, if we can get you on a team-friendly deal, we'll move off of Buckner. I would have kept both because, to me, there's one rule that I would never break, and the rule is this. You do not ever trade anybody in the front seven that commands a double team. If you command a double team in the front seven, you're not being traded. Buckner consistently commanded double teams, and they traded him. And it was a total cap reason. But I kind of blame Buckner because if you really want to be a Niner, then after you get Joel Siegel as your agent, you go to John Lynch and say, hey, man, I really want to be here. Instead, you're sending a message saying, I'm going for the top dollar. And then John's got to make a call based on what he sees.
Everyone goes for the top dollar. And he had more leverage than Eric Armstead because Eric Armstead had one good year. Buckner had a great career. Why should he give the Niners a discount? I don't think that was his prerogative at all.
If he wanted to stay on a team that was loaded. I mean, how many times has DeForest gone to the playoffs since he left?
I mean, how many Super Bowls have the Niners won since he left? I don't think.
I hear you, but I mean, do you want to be on a great team with incredible talent?
I would have done the same exact thing that DeForest. I would have done the same fucking thing that DeForest Buckner did. And what the Niners did was they got an inferior player in Armstead for just a little bit cheaper. I mean, next year he's going to be his cap number's higher than Buckner. Going forward, his cap number's higher than Buckner. So what they got was a guy who agreed to a backloaded deal as opposed to a front-loaded deal. Okay, well, the Niners should have won a Super Bowl then, so they could keep Jimmy Ward and all that shit.
See, we're looking at a 2020 hindsight after they gaffed the first-round draft choice. They got a top 15 pick.
That's true. They could have got
right. I mean, if Kinlaw
could have got a Pro Bowler.
If who was drafted in and around Kinlaw that was better? If they had gotten somebody in and around Kinlaw who was significantly better, maybe we would be talking differently.
That's a good point. Alex Georgiou says, Jaquaski Tart said Niners practice makes players banged up versus Eagles who take care of their players. A player saying what we think about Shanny. That's very interesting. Is
it sour grapes?
It
you always got to filter everybody.
It could be, but I mean, I think it's naive to think that these players don't have their own thoughts about why the Niners are consistently so banged up. They'll never express those thoughts while they're under contract for the 49ers, and maybe their thoughts aren't right, but I'm sure these guys have firsthand knowledge, and I wouldn't necessarily dismiss it. But you're right, it could be sour grapes.
No, I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying,
hard to know.
It's hard to know. And what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about Thursday practices versus other teams' Thursday practices? Are we talking about, number? Because it also comes down to a practice is not a practice. Some teams have 60 plays in a practice. Some teams have 100 plays in a practice. It's like, what are we talking about really at the end of the day? I don't know that we have the full picture on that.
No, but I think Jaquaski Tart probably does, and I'd be interested to know a little bit more from him on this subject.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if Wilson requested wanted to go? I don't know. I imagine John Lynch probably said so in a conference call a few minutes ago, so find out. Wayne Evett, thank you. Jason, CMC for Quinn, Hawkinson, and William Jackson. We could have had 3 players for those picks plus 2 fourths and a 2025th round back. Did we make the right move? You know how I feel about it. That's an interesting way to look at it. But I got to say that here's the thing. The Niners gave up too much for Christian McCaffrey. There's one person who can justify this trade and make it work. Kyle. And he's in control of getting the ball to Christian McCaffrey. And we saw what he did last week. So he's going to be working very hard to justify this trade because it's his reputation on the line. That's one way to feel confident about it, right? It's not like you got a coach who's going to bury him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see on this one. Let me just say on the last thing. I mean, Quinn's a free agent at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. They have a ton of defensive ends. I think their real problem up front is at tackle. Hawkinson would have been nice, but he's your second tight end. And the
also got Dwelly, who's just amazing.
Who had a great catch last week. And then the third guy that they had there was who again? It was William Jackson. And William Jackson got moved today, but William Jackson's got a bad hamstring. Mm-hmm. And I think the 49ers talked to Washington, but I don't think they were willing to move a pick because, I think he went for the exchange of a 6th for a 7th. So it was a very low price that the Steelers paid for him. I don't think he's healthy. And I don't think they wanted to trade a pick of any kind for a guy who wasn't healthy. I think if he had been cut loose, they would have been all over William Jackson. Big corner, could play man to man. But now he's got a bad hammy.
Beyond Reasons ENT says it seems like all our premium players have been figured out or injured due to Banana Hand's mediocre play calling. Mike McDaniel, hey, big head, text sent. Yeah, it is. It does seem kind of disheartening. You know, Deebo, great contract year, gets the bag, can't replicate it. Kittle's been that way. Warner's been that way. Although they're still good. I'm just saying they haven't been able to replicate their best season. Something for the Niners to think about. They got more guys coming up like that. Although Bosa's been pretty consistent. It's not like he's had one good year.
Yeah.
All right.
And what do you make of Deebo's regression?
Well, let's talk about it.
Do you think it's injury related, speed related? He doesn't surprise anybody because he's running a lot of the same plays that he ran last year, but except last year, he seemed to take the defense by surprise. He'd get to the edge consistently and then turn it upfield and make a play. Now he's just being run literally horizontally right out of bounds, almost on every outside zone run.
It felt like he caught the league by surprise a little bit last year. I mean, heading into last year, no one looked at Deebo Samuel as a guy who was going to get a $24 million contract. He had a good rookie year, but, I mean, he wasn't the focal point of the offense. Mostert and Kittle were. And then his second year, he was a ghost. And then he comes into last year, and I don't think teams were really dialed in to stopping him, and he destroyed him as a receiver and a running back. This year, he didn't have the same type of offseason. He wasn't in the same shape. Defenses studied him and really did a good job of shutting him down once Lance got hurt. And I think there's another thing. The Niners were just forcing him the ball. It was clear that he wasn't the same player as last year, and yet they were making him the center of the offense when Ayuk's in better shape than him right now. The running game is working without him. You don't need to hand him the ball. Jeff Wilson Jr. was doing great. So I think what they learned against the Rams is they don't need to force the ball to Deebo to score 30 points. In fact, they might be better if they reduce Deebo's role and feature Ayuk and McCaffrey like they did in this game and sort of work Deebo in slowly and let him earn his spot again. I'm just saying. I think it might be the best thing for this team.
I'll tell you one thing I'd like to see, and I don't know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's just my notion, having watched all these games, just seems like when they're running Deebo to the outside, they're doing it, running him to the short side of the field. I'd like to see him run to the wide side of the field so he has a little bit more room. Because the one thing that he does not have, and he's never had it, he doesn't have a running back's ability to cut in short area. So he cuts in bigger areas, which means he needs more room to operate. So I'd like to see them get him in more open space instead of running him towards the boundary, run him towards the field. And let's see if he can, if you give him a little bit more room to cut, if he can set up his blockers a little bit better. I just feel like doesn't it seem like there's a lot of bodies around him, and he doesn't have that kind of nifty pick and slide that a lot of top tier running backs have. Why? Because he's not a top tier running back.
Yeah, they could use him better. They could use him better as a running back, but I feel it's a little disheartening what's happening with him right now. I mean, he could be in a little bit better shape, and they could use him better, but for what they're paying him, he's not delivering. He's no longer a wide back. He doesn't give you anything out of the backfield. He's not getting down the field. His route running isn't great. His hands aren't great. What he is now is a screen threat. If he catches the ball, he'll get you 9, 10 yards after the catch, like always. But again, not getting open down the field. Can't counting him to hold on to the ball and not a running back. So now you're paying $24 million a year for screens. It's not good enough. He's got to raise his game to the level he's shown already he can take it to.
Yeah. It seems like almost like the kind of weapon that almost needs to be spotted better too, and maybe with McCaffrey, he will be, but we haven't seen the same production. There's just no question about that.
So I think his average depth of catch last year was like 8 yards down the field. Really good. This year it's like 3, which is like running back stuff. Yeah. That's not what they're paying for. So, and that's on him. He needs to lose 5 pounds and get in shape and improve his route running and hands because he's supposed to be an all-pro wide receiver. No holes. So,
yeah.
Larry, you nailed everything you said about Wilson. You made a very intriguing argument. You did.
Thank you.
Shreddy Murphy says, how balanced is the team now? D, still better than O. I don't look at this team as super balanced because they have basically one way they win, running the ball and playing good defense. That's the way I look at it.
I mean, they came from behind in the second half. Amazing.
They did. They did.
We saw it. We were there.
They did it. That's true.
I think that's actually a really great debate. Is are the Niners a team with a stronger offense than a defense, or a stronger defense than an offense? I would argue that they're a stronger offense than a defense based on the talent they have. If they had Emmanuel Mosley, if they had Greenlaw and Al-Shaair, if they had a healthy Kinlaw and a healthy Armstead, I'd lean with the D for sure. But now you're playing Givens and Ridgeway a lot, and you're playing Oren Burks a lot, and you're leaning on Ambry Thomas anytime anybody goes three wides. Give me the offense. I'll take the offense.
Yeah. Wayne Yvette says it's still a point. We get too much talent on one team and it creates turmoil between players, and in turn we fall apart. Someone not getting attention. If they lose, not if they win, but if they lose, yeah, you'll hear stuff. You always hear stuff like this. I didn't get enough touches. I mean, it could be Deebo, it could be Kittle, but if they're winning, no, it'll be interesting.
I subscribe to the theory that you never have enough talent, and if the players are complaining, good, let them complain. Seriously, okay. I don't really know too many NFL coaches that really care if the players are complaining because there's too many good players on the team.
Well, I mean, it's the coach's issue. Are you a leader? Can you handle that? Can you distribute the ball around and keep people happy and keep everyone's ego stroked or not? I mean, it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have for sure. But some coaches handle it better than others, for sure.
Yeah, and the 49ers may have, this trade for McCaffrey, Grant, I mean, you know it. The Niners have not done this for the most part. They have not taken a guy who makes more money and is going to get more touches and has higher ranking and put him into their locker room just like on the fly. For the most part, they haven't done that. They are very sensitive about drafting guys and slating them behind the incumbent. So this is like one of the very first times we've ever seen them say, hey, yeah, we respect you. You're balling, Jeff Wilson. We love you. Oh, this guy's better. Bye-bye. And maybe they didn't say bye-bye, but he said bye-bye maybe. But
I mean, the way they're acting is that McCaffrey, to your point, is the number one weapon on the team. Like 1 week in the system, enough, 27 touches. Hey, did I send a clear enough message to the rest of my locker room? Like, yeah, I like you, Brandon and George and Deebo a lot, but I like him so much more. And our offense is going through Christian now. And if you have a problem with that, please write something in the suggestion box, and I'll maybe read it next year. I don't think you care.
Box.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is his comment to the team. This guy's the best player in the team.
He is. I mean, first of all, there was an NFL before this trade was made. And in that NFL, Christian was better than those guys. So, I mean, he
might be. I like Ayuk, but he's really good.
If we had 20 of the 32 NFL GMs sitting on this live stream, 20 of the 32 would go with Christian. That's how I feel.
Maybe more than that. I'm just a big Brandon Ayuk fan because I know his mom. We're basically family at this point.
I like Ayuk too. I'll say what I admire about Ayuk the most. And Deebo, really the same guy in some ways. No fear going across the middle.
No fear. And there was that. You see that clip? You see that clip of him locked up with that, I don't know, DB or linebacker from Kansas City, and the guy was trying to push him, sort of pushing Ayuk after the whistle, and Ayuk spun around and threw him. I love that.
He threw him into Banks' legs.
He was like, "Let's go!"
Yeah.
I love that. I'm sorry, Banks, but he had to prove something. Physical. I wouldn't mess with him. I wouldn't mess with anybody. Look at me. Okay. All right. Let's
Tabor Pepper.
Tough guy. Watch out for Grant Cohn coming through. 185.
Don't mess with Tabor.
Yeah, he's a big guy. Tabor Pepper's huge, by the way. I wouldn't mess with Tabor Pepper at all. It's bye week. The Niners are halfway through the season. 8 games in, 9 games to go. Let's give out some midseason awards for fun.
Let's do it. I love this.
Let's be positive.
We can be positive. We picked him to go to the Super Bowl.
That's right. First half offensive MVP for the 49ers.
First half offensive MVP for the 49ers. The highest graded offensive player has been Banks. So I'm going to say Banks. I can't believe I'm saying Banks. Okay. I'm going to say Banks. Banks is solid at guard. He's not perfect, but he's good in the run game. He's got good numbers. He's playing every snap. I like Banks. I think he's getting better. I think John Lynch said it last year. Said all you guys sitting there boasting this guy's a bust. You guys are wrong.
He's a good story. He's not the offensive MVP of this team, though. I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk has been actually the most consistent player on the offense. He's been there, I mean, throughout the offseason. He's in great shape. It's his third year. He's making that push for a contract. He deserves it. He's being held back a little bit by the quarterback and the offensive philosophy, although still he's been efficient. 120 quarterback rating when targeted, going over the middle, not getting to show his deep ball ability because Lance is gone. Consistent.
How many touchdowns?
I think 4. I want to say 4. He's the leading receiver on the team in both yards, and I want to say touchdowns. It's a run-first team, so his numbers aren't going to get him in the Pro Bowl probably, but I think he's a Pro Bowl talent. I'm going Ayuk. Let's go defense.
Going Banks.
First half defensive MVP. Who is the MVP of this defense so far?
Talanoa Hufanga.
Ooh, okay.
I think Hufanga's just been incredible. I probably would have gone with Greenlaw because I think Greenlaw is truly dominant. But Hufanga has just been so good. He's good against the pass. He's good against the run. He's missed a lot of tackles recently, and that's my one thing. He's missed some tackles. He's fallen off some tackles. So that would be my one negative. But guy plays. He plays hurt. He's productive. He's a leader. He's made big plays. I'll go with Hufanga.
I was considering him. He was in the running. He's got 3 picks and a touchdown. Big plays. You brought something up earlier. If GMs could draft or pick a player from this defense, 32 out of 32 GMs would pick Nick Bosa first. There's no question. So Talanoa is great. Nick Bosa's got 8 sacks in 7 games. I got to give it to Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
he's an all-pro player.
It's funny. You're right. I kind of put Bosa in his own category.
Yeah. He's so good you don't even consider him, right? Like, do we have to mention Nick? Yeah.
Hufanga, get over here. I got to take that trophy back. You're right. I'm giving it to Nick.
I wrote Talanoa down first, and I was like, man, I don't think I can justify it. It's freaking Nick Bosa. He got exposed a little bit against Kansas City. He missed a game. I still got to give it to Big Nick. Sorry. Smaller Nick.
Here's the thing, though. Where Greenlaw is the most overlooked guy, one of the most overlooked guys in the league. Forget the Niners. He's one of the most overlooked guys in the league. He had 16 tackles. And I think he had 16 tackles and 13 tackles in back-to-back games. And this guy almost had 30 tackles in 2 games. I just think Greenlaw, when you look at his ability to key and diagnose, his ability, his courageousness to fill, his love of hitting, the speed is off the charts. You give me a healthy Greenlaw, I think he's just so dominating. It's unbelievable.
All right. Who is the offensive most improved player of the first half?
That I would probably give to Banks.
It's definitely Banks. See, that's the one. I feel you jumped the gun on. It's definitely Banks. He deserves this one. And I didn't see it coming because
over. Damn it.
We watched him in training camp, and both of us were like, I don't know, in those one-on-ones. But so far, he's been great in 11-on-11 real football, which is what matters.
Yeah, no, it's Banks. It's Banks. He's gotten nothing but better. And I'll say this. I talked to him in camp. I talked to him at the beginning of the year, and I've talked to him like this last week. And his confidence as a player is going way up. He wasn't saying too much early on, and he was not sounding too confident after week 1. But man, you talk to him now, he's good and he knows it. And he knows that he can play at this level. And that's a huge moment for anybody in the NFL.
Also, his emergence has made me really reassess how I look at young players in the Niners. A lot of times if a highly drafted player doesn't get on the field his rookie year, I'm thinking, ooh, the coaches are really down on him. He's not good. He must, because they're going to put the best players out there. Not necessarily on the 49ers. What I think is, you look at him, Talanoa, Hufanga, a lot of times Kyle just won't play young players unless he has no choice. He had no choice with Elijah Mitchell and Brandon Ayuk. And then you're surprised. Year 2.
Is it Kyle?
I don't know who it is.
I'm wondering if it's Forster and Bobby T.
Whoever it is, the Niners make this collective decision to put the guy on ice, and then all of a sudden you get this guy who looks good year 2, and the question is, did they develop him? Or did they have this talent on the bench this whole time? Who's to say Talanoa wasn't better than Tart last year? We just don't know. Same with Banks. Maybe Banks was better than Brunskill last year, although it seemed like he didn't look good on the right side. They got him on the left side, and that's been big for him. So Good for Banks.
I mean, from talking to Banks, he says the key is that his body's totally changed, that he's the exact same weight that he was at last year, but last year it was blubber and this year it's muscle. So he's converted his body from a college body to a pro body. He's probably went from a college diet to a pro diet, and now he's he looks like a guy who's going to play 10 years in the league. Because I'll say this, his walk around weight, like he's not one of these muscled up guys that needs to lift to maintain 320 or whatever he's at. He's that size. So guys who with their walk around weights 325 and they play at 330, those guys play a decade. So I think he's going to have a long career.
As opposed to Mike McGlinchey, whose walk around weight is probably 250.
And there's others like him. There's others like him who, they have to lift like crazy to get to that weight.
And eat like crazy. What I wanted to say with Banks, I think people were wondering, is he the next Josh Garnett? Well, no. And so if you're looking at Danny Gray, is he the next A.J. Jenkins? You can't say that. The Niners routinely have had quality rookies on the bench because they don't know the system or they just want to slow play them and develop them. What we've seen from Gray so far hasn't been great. But still, I wouldn't write him off.
No, definitely do not write him off.
Who is the first half defensive most improved player for the 49ers?
Well, I mean, you could say it's Hufanga since we just
unless he was great last year and we just didn't know.
Yeah,
it would probably be Hufanga. But
who else? I'm going to say it is two guys really. It's Menahue and Ebukam.
Okay.
And Menahue, I talked to him the other day. Menahue, when he got traded for, was like 273. And he's down under 265. And you can see the speed. The guy's got a crazy body for the NFL. He's got really long levers, really long arms, really long legs, natural strength, natural quickness. He had bulked up to 273. He's now lean and mean and fast and every bit as strong. So I say a Menahue, and then maybe even a little bit of Sampson, because Sampson has just been playing with his hair on fire all year. But I'll lean towards a Menahue because a Menahue's really quite a bit better than he was last year.
Those are interesting answers. Ebukam had 3.5 sacks his first 5 games. Then he's been dealing with an Achilles issue that he got on that ridiculous turf in Carolina. Hopefully now that he has a bye week to rest it, because he's been playing through it. Contract year, got to respect it. Now that he has a week to rest it, hopefully he can go back to playing like he did the first 5 weeks because he was an impact player. Menahue really been coming on the last few weeks. Let's say Talanoa Hufanga, though. I mean, Let's give the Niners a benefit of the doubt and say that they developed him and that he couldn't have done this last year. You can't throw at him. Throwing at Hufanga is a bad idea. He seems to break quickly on the ball. He seems to get his hands on a lot of passes. Good player. Playmaker.
Well, the thing is, I can't go with the narrative that they turned him into this, because this guy was the defensive player of the year in the Pac-12.
That's a good point.
He wasn't SC's best player. He was the conference's best defensive player.
And he was getting rave reviews from the coaches all of last year. It just feels like the head coach was like, nah, let's go with the vet for the vet's sake. Okay. Well,
I think Hufanga is, when it's funny, we were all yelling safety on draft day, and they knew what they had in Hufanga.
Hey. Good point. That was one of my biggest gripes with their draft in general. No safety. How arrogant. Well, they knew what they were doing. I take it back. You were right. I was wrong. Who was the? Okay. We're gonna go negative here. Got to. They're a 4-4 team. We can't just give them a bunch of awards. Who is the weakest link on the offense through the first half? Who has been the weakest link?
Hate to say it because I like the guy, but I'm going to say McGlinchey. I just think McGlinchey is he's tough and he doesn't complain, but he's got about 7 different injuries. And it takes a ton for him just to get out there every week. Yeah. And he doesn't miss. He gets out there every week. In a way, I admire him, but in a way, I wonder if they have somebody else that they could lean on that might even be better at this point. I just think Mike has he's always struggled with speed rushers, but now he just he's sore. He just looks sore.
Yeah.
So I would say McGlinchey, because of his physical the physical injuries he's had this year. He's to me, he doesn't, I admire him, but he's not the player that I think he wants to be.
I admire him too. I think a big reason he's trying to play through these injuries is he's going to be a free agent. They didn't extend him. He's going to be a free agent next year. He has to do this. But the Niners should save him from himself. I think Daniel Brunskill probably would give him a better option at right tackle right now. Unless I'm wrong. I mean, Brunskill's played there before. He's looked decent enough. Tom Compton was an upgrade last year from Mike McGlinchey. So I think
what about Jalen Moore? Didn't Jalen Moore play right tackle all throughout last year's preseason?
Colton McKivitz is coming back. I mean, they have options. They should probably check those out. I'm gonna cheat on this answer because you're thinking player here. And McGlinchey probably would be the weakest link in the starting lineup. But the reason the offense has underperformed as much as it has the first half of the season, I don't think is on any one player. I think it's on Kyle Shanahan. So I'm going to say the weakest link on the offense so far this season has been him and his assistant coaches, who are all kind of trying to figure out how to game plan and adjust together on the fly. Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe they figured it out last week. Maybe all they needed was Christian McCaffrey in 7 weeks to get it together, and they'll be great down the stretch. But first half, I got to put it on the coach. But I'm not projecting that it's going to continue to be that way the rest of the season. I'm just describing what I saw.
I hear you. I wouldn't, but if there wasn't an obvious one in my mind, I would lean in that direction because I think we have seen some regression from their staff, whether it's on him or the guys who replaced Mike McDaniel, or if it's on, if it's on the new running back coach, or if it's on the O-line. I mean, I'm not in their meetings, and I don't know how hard they work and who's pulling what and who's not doing it. So I'll go with McGlinchey, but I hear your feelings on that.
They kept saying, I mean, even coming from their own locker room, we have too much talent to be scoring this few points. Yup. And then it all finally came together this past week against the Rams. We'll see if they can keep it going. No excuses. This team has a lot of talent except at right tackle. But they do have some other options they can check out. Who is the weakest link? Who has been? So this is a different question. Not who is the weakest link, because that's like for all times. Who has been the weakest link on defense through the first half of the season?
The weakest link on defense in the first half of the season. Well, that's interesting. Kinlaw's been hurt, and Kinlaw's been hurt a lot. So that's quickly comes to mind. But I would say, if you just wanted to say, take out injuries and just evaluate how they played in the past and how they played this year, I would say the regression of Ambry Thomas is pretty startling. And this guy, at the end of last year, I thought he was their best cover guy. He looked like he had the most momentum. And then this year, it was like the whole second half of last year didn't happen. And he's just like the same lost guy he was in the first 2 months of last season. So I don't know. I mean, usually you pick up where you left off, but some guys obviously don't, and he's one of them. So I'll say Ambry, even though he hasn't gotten out there a whole lot. This guy had momentum going last year, and wherever that momentum is gone, I don't know, but it's gone.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with, that's a good answer. I'm gonna go with Deommodore Lenoir. Although, to his credit, he hasn't given up any touchdowns this year. So he hasn't given up any big plays, but I mean, he's given up a quarterback rating of 100, a completion percentage of 74. The drop off from Mosley to him is pretty stark. You go from legit Pro Bowl caliber corner to a guy who's kind of playing it safe and trying not to get beat deep and giving up stuff underneath. Good tackler. He's not necessarily a liability, which is interesting for your weak link, but when they go up against good offenses, I mean, no one's scared of Deommodore Lenoir.
Well, just all I got to say is this. You're going with Lenoir. I think Lenoir is quite a bit better than what I saw last year. I would have had him as one of my most improved in the first month of the year. If you look at the reaction when I watched that film again of Niners-Rams, and I saw the reaction of Matthew Stafford when Ambry Thomas came on the field.
Oh!
I mean, it was like, I don't care what we're doing, we're going at him. It was like
that Vince McMahon meme where he's like really, really excited. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I just felt like that gave me all the That to me is all I needed to see. He's the guy that right now needs to get better.
All right, those are our awards. Let's go through and answer the rest of the questions, and then we'll be done. Wayne, we got you. Here we go. My egotistic aura says Jimmy wins out. What do we do at quarterback next year?
Jimmy, he wins out. He wins a Super Bowl. He's coming back. And Grant's going to have another 10,000 subscribers.
Look, it's a fair question, I guess.
They'll have more merch.
Dude, they're 4-4. They just beat. Look. They just got.
If they win out,
they're going to win out.
If Jimmy's
they just
coming
got
back.
blown out in back-to-back weeks by the Falcons and the Chiefs. They beat the Rams one time again, which they always do. And now we're talking about winning out. Can we just pump the brakes? This is what's weird about covering a 500 team. When they lose a game, it's like fire everyone. When they win a game, it's like, are we going to win the Super Bowl? Like, this is a mediocre team for the time being.
Right.
I feel you.
Well, I'll say this. They had a thing on ESPN the other day. I think it was the guy who sucked for the Lions. What's his name? The guy who ran out of the back of the end zone.
I saw that.
And he said the Niners were the quote-unquote scariest team. And
in the
obviously
whole league.
Yeah. And
he put the Chiefs at number 5.
I know. That was ridiculous. But it is a reflection of how people feel about the Niners' offensive weapons.
For sure.
And their defense maybe a little bit too once they get healthy.
For sure. It's just funny. Like, if the bye week had come before the Rams game, no one would say that with the Niners coming off 2 losses. But it comes after the Rams game, and so people are feeling good because they won a game, but frankly, it's the Rams. So anyway, it's not like I'm not saying the Niners won't go back to the NFC Championship game, but to suddenly get that epiphany after they beat the Rams again is, to me, silly. Should have drafted Fields over Lance. Ooh.
Yeah. That sounds like a guy who just watched the Bears-Pats the other night.
Ooh. Look, I mean, Fields is improving. He started more than a season's worth of games. What's Lance going to look like when he starts more than a season worth of games? I mean, people were real ready to write off Justin Fields last year, right? And so even his improvement, he's not elite yet. He's got a long way to go.
He's got no weapons. I mean, today they got him Chase Claypool. So he's now a receiver. But I mean,
nice.
He's had no receivers. The only thing about Fields is that, like, I've seen zero games where I've seen him throw with any real anticipation. He like sees it open, then he throws. So, there's a big difference there. I just think that Fields has great skill set, but he's got accuracy, he's got foot speed, he's got great athletic body. But
he runs into a ton of sacks.
Check back in 3 years. Let's see what they
He runs into a ton
like.
of sacks. Too much for me. Rob Watson says, watch the Kurt Warner vid. Great stuff that every Madden player already knows, right down to the pre-snap read on the double slants. That was genius. You would assume an NFL coach would know these things. Or, I mean, even to Warner's credit, a lot of times he's like, I don't know, maybe this is Jimmy. I don't know why he's looking at the double slant side of the field when you got 3/2. He should know this. So it's on both of them.
I thought that I would tell anybody who hasn't seen that to go watch that, because what I liked about that, there's too many people watching film who don't know what the hell they're talking about.
It's true.
And they look at one route combination and one play and are like, this guy's good. This guy's bad.
This guy's open. This guy's open. Like that
and,
doesn't. And there was a lot of that. Warner was like, "Hey, people are saying he should check down over here. You can't look away from pressure." That was so instructive.
Yeah,
I love that.
And also, it just kind of shows you that over the course of a long football game, you're going to have things that are on Kyle, things that are on Jimmy,
right,
things that are on Ayuk, things that are on Kittle, things that
are on both of them in the same play.
Right.
Right, so like Kyle doesn't give Jimmy an answer for pressure, but Jimmy throws a pick instead of taking the sack on both of them. Take the sack, give Jimmy an answer, all that stuff.
But I'll say the one that is disturbing, and I've seen it 5 times if I've seen it once this year, is their route combinations seem really, really bad at times. I mean, how many times? Okay, let's just say this. This is when you know something's fucked up. If 2 receivers are at the end of the route in the exact same spot, something went wrong.
Yes.
And so how many times does that happen this year? I would say about 10.
Yeah.
That's way too many times. If that happens 3 times, you're like, well, 10 times, that means that either guys are deviating or guys are making it up as they go, or the route combinations weren't well thought out, or, there's a lot there. So I'm just saying I would recommend people watch Warner, because he have watched a bunch of film and he drew some conclusions, but they weren't like so heavy on each play. He was just saying, well, this could be this or this could be that. And he kind of illustrated how it's a team deal.
Mike H says Ayuk is only the fourth best offensive skill position the Niners have, which is actually impressive. He's probably at least second on most teams. I don't know. I feel like the NFL is very much a "what have you done for me lately" league, and I don't really care what you did last year. There's a lot of violence, and if you're, are you in your best shape ever? That goes year to year, and Ayuk is in his best shape ever. And all I know is he's leading the Niners in catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns from scrimmage. So if he's the fourth best, cool. He's a hell of a fourth best guy, but I would argue he's up there.
I would say he's better than fourth best.
Ray Rogers says, I think 2/5 would have been the right price for Jeff. That being said, I'd give Nick Bosa the MVP. Sacks pressures are too important. 2/5, 1/5. I feel like the Dolphins got a bargain. They got Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. for nothing because the Niners didn't want him anymore. Cool.
Yeah.
Good for them. Mooweed says Womack is the best special teams player. His hit on that punt return was nice. That was really nice. That was cool.
Very
Ray
well
Rogers,
timed.
Mike McGlinchey, weak sauce. You don't want to be weak sauce. Jack Jackson, great. I'm going to disagree with you. Gray was good with T. Lance. Jimmy underthrown balls makes Danny look bad. Go look at the tape. Every time Jimmy throws deep, it's underthrown. Dwelly is slow. Hey, I didn't say, I specifically said don't write off Danny Gray. That's all I'm saying. I did.
Danny Gray can play. The guy, Jack Jackson's totally right. Jimmy's deep ball hangs with consistency, and and he hasn't been able to get it to Gray, but it ain't because of Gray.
Moving on, Crow says Greasy is doing a great job in my opinion.
Who knows?
Yeah, Murray, $14. I like it.
Just for that, just for you being you.
Thank you so much. Mike McGlinchey, we got to trade for more D linemen. Shake my. What's up, Mike? Ezekiel says the weak link on the defense isn't a person; it's an inability to handle mobile quarterbacks. Ooh, I like that answer. I like big picture answers. I have a theory with that. To me, it is the weakness of the wide nine. I don't know if we've talked about it, but it feels like if you're going to spread out 4 D linemen as far as you can and say rush to a spot, well, there are going to be strengths and weaknesses with that approach. The primary weakness is you're just, expanding scramble lanes, expanding them. The way I look at it.
Well, KC just took you out back and said, "Here's your wide nine. Here's your wide nine. I'm going to run right off Bosa's right shoulder as he's coming flying off the edge. We're going to run right. We're going to kick him out and run off his inside shoulder." And they've done it. So yeah, the wide nine is absolutely great because it makes the quarterback, it simplifies things for the defense. So guys are just getting up the field. So lots of D linemen like to play in that scheme. So that's good. But then you got to have the unbelievable speed and talent and instincts at linebacker. And when they're healthy, they do. But
Mike H says, I think full playbook CMC is a game changer. Yeah, it's possible. That catch he made was great in the end zone. I just want to point out that he did the same exact thing to the Rams like 2 weeks ago at Carolina. The Rams can't tackle. Their defense sucks. Their whole team sucks. So I just want to see how Christian McCaffrey overcomes some of the Niners' offensive limitations against a better defense. All I want to say. He's a really good player. I'm not poo-pooing him. He's really good. Hella good when healthy. Josh Wyatt says, I had the epiphany that the Niners are going to the NFC Championship after the Chiefs game. They made a move to be relevant, and they will be. Did you have a vision too? They certainly could, man. Who else has a better chance to meet Philly in the NFC Championship game than the Niners? They're right there with anyone. Seattle.
I don't believe in Dallas. I'm not sure about Minnesota.
The Giants just lost to Seattle. Like Minnesota, we've seen the Niners play Minnesota. It's the same team for the long time. Yeah. Mike H. I got you. Josh Wyatt says, do the Yorks think relevance is enough? Do the Yorks think relevance is enough?
Yes.
Maybe not. I think they do, but maybe Josh Wyatt seems to feel that they're.
I think Jed probably has moments where he's frustrated with Kyle and John and then goes, oh my God, Chip Kelly. Chip Tomsula.
Yeah, you're right.
Chip Kelly talking fast. Oh, no.
Jim O'Neill. Oh, my God, the worst defense of all time. All right, that's the end of the show. Thank you for donating and watching, everyone.
Wait. I got one for you.
Give me.
We're big mouth know-it-alls, right? We know it all. But we're wrong from time to time. Give me the guy that you, based on camp to the season that you were the most wrong about? And I'll give you mine.
2. I mean, Aaron Banks and Talanoa Hufanga. I watched them every day in training camp, and I was like, nope, I don't see it. Hufanga in one-on-ones, Banks in one-on-ones, neither one is good, but they are good 11-on-11 full contact football players. So I take those 2, Banks and Hufanga.
Those are good. I'm going Drake Jackson. I saw Drake Jackson and I thought, this guy's supposed to be he's supposed to be D Ford. He's supposed to bend the edge and come flying off the edge and bother pass rushers. And I looked at his body and I thought, I see more like an Arden Key. I think I even said it to you one day. I go, this guy's bulked up. He looks bulky. He doesn't look like a guy who can rush the passer off the edge. But he isn't the D Ford body type. He's not your speed rusher beating you out of the stance, though he could. But he's a hell of a player.
He's a hell of an interior rusher. He's a hell of an interior rusher. And that's what they said. Like, he's like Arden Key. He's not here to replace D Ford. He's here to replace Key. And they said, like, if you go back and look at his sacks in college, most of them came from the interior.
And watching the 4D end alignment of Menahue and Jackson, who should get just absolutely kicked out of there with regularity based on being defensive ends and standing up, these guys are getting combo blocked at times, splitting the combo blocks, and getting penetration into the backfield. Drake and a Menahue playing that strong against the run gives them a chance to go with that 4D end alignment. So I'm amazed by Jackson and a Menahue especially, but more Jackson, because I was kind of thinking, oh no. They took this guy in the second round and he doesn't look like he's got the ability to bend the edge, and oh no. Wrong.
But they had a specific vision, and I'll never question Chris Kasarik. He's so good at it. They took a guy who was playing outside linebacker at USC last year, and they're like, that's a D tackle for us. That's our next D tackle right there, baby. And they were right. I'm not questioning them with their front seven stuff anymore. They know what they're doing.
I will say this. Every D lineman I've talked to this year, when it comes time to talk about the team and why they're there, this and that, it's always Chris. They always talk about Chris. Always. I
mean, the Niners have a lot of novices on their coaching staff. He ain't one of them. He is as good as any position coach they've had on this team in a long time.
Makes you wonder, if D'Amico left, would they even go to Fangio? Nope. Because Fangio's a 3-4 front guy, and this guy's a 4-3 wide 9 guy. Can you have Fangio?
I bet they could work together. They're too good.
They could figure it out.
I think they could work it out. Yeah. Mike H says, would you take Ayuk over Kittle, CMC, or Deebo? I would. He's younger than them. He's a wide receiver. He gets down the field. He hasn't had serious injury issues. But that's just me. And I go against the grain. But I like the way his career is trending.
Ayuk's got a much better chance than those guys to stay healthy long term.
And to have a career that goes into his 30s. Cisco Kid says, don't know if it's important or not, but the team obviously looks up to Garoppolo. Should he get that captain on his chest? Would it make a difference? Stick with what's going on right now. Is he going to play better if he gets a captain thing? I don't know. I like Jimmy with a chip on his shoulder. Jimmy with something to prove. I like it.
If you get guys who they're good this week, they're bad next week, guess what? Don't give them anything and keep dangling the carrot. Just keep dangling the carrot.
Like this one. Any tips on how to get better at my bye weeks? Yeah. Hit up Joe Staley. He'll tell you, man. Ask Joe Staley for some tips. He's got you. All right. That's the show. Thanks for watching. Larry, what you doing the rest of the day?
I'm not sure. I'm going to do a live stream, I think, later today and talk a little bit about the Niners in the bye week. And we'll do one later today, and then maybe a little baseball bye week stuff. Bye week kind of gets me. I can kind of go in any direction I want to go. I may even do a little Warriors tonight. Warriors Heat going tonight.
Sounds fun. The Warriors all of a sudden are really interesting. I don't know where that team's going this year. If you want to check it out, watch Larry tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Peace.